Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, October 17th. Before we jump into Red Friday, for all you listening, happy Red Friday. Trey and Dan with the Fastest 40 presented by Odyssey Sports. Trey, what is going on?
Hey, another day, brother. Let's get it. It's we're back to football this week for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I like our odds coming off the bye here.
Oh yeah.
Another Super Bowl rematch. Here we go.
What'd you do on the bye? Get some recovery in, hit the cold plunge.
I did. Yeah, we stayed home. No cold plunge this weekend. Stayed home. College football.
Love it.
Red River rivalry was this weekend or last weekend, so I was all over that one, and
Oh
watched
yeah.
some football Sunday as well, and got prepared. Took some notes on the enemy, so
On
I
the
was
enemy.
prepared, and here we are. Preparation the preparation's been completed, and we're going to war this weekend.
Ready started up, baby. It's a big game this weekend, right? I'd say it's probably as big as it gets when you're talking about an NFC matchup, team that the Chiefs have met in the Super Bowl last couple times. Um, so a lot of exciting stuff to get into that. But before we get there, let's talk about this wide receiver trade market because it does impact the Chiefs in a lot of ways, given the injuries. There's a lot of rumors flying around. We've already seen two top guys get shipped off, one to New York, one to Buffalo. AFC teams are tooling up for what is going to be a big time showdown here down the stretch. So, what do you make of some of those moves that have kind of happened already, and any predictions for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of, or there still is a lot of anticipation of what the Chiefs are going to do going into the um, the trade deadline here. And then, you see Amari Cooper go off to the Bills, and then you see Devontae Adams go up to New York, play for the Jets with his old friend Aaron Rodgers. And so I think that anticipation has grown even more compared to what it was a week ago or even 2 weeks ago when kind of things settled out for Rashee Rice.
Right.
Expectations for the Chiefs is going to be the exact same what we've seen since Rashee Rice got injured. I don't think we're going to go out and make a huge trade. I don't think that's been the MO for Brett Veach or Andy Reid. I think after the game 2 weeks ago, Juju goes for 130, and then
Yeah.
Travis Kelsey has like nine catches. I don't think there's a lot of panic at one Arrowhead Drive. I think most of the panic comes from the Chiefs Kingdom and knowing
Yeah.
what we went through last year. I will say, Strato made a comment early on this week in our group text about MVS getting cut and then coming back to Kansas City, and then literally 24 hours later, MVS gets cut. And so I could see something like that happening. It seems like the Chiefs always tend to bring back some of these guys that are either cut or traded in the offseason or whatever the situation may be, but they know the playbook, they know the system, they know how we operate. So it's easy to plug those guys back in. So I could see MVS coming in for a tryout. But I fully believe that the receiving core that we have down to the practice squad has more capability than what MVS has. I
Mm,
mean, Sky Moore is Sky Moore at this point. He is who he is.
known
They
commodity.
are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
And I think there's some young guys, Justin Ross, I'd like to see get some playing time, but yeah, I don't think we go out and make a trade.
I mean, I'm with you. I think the front office being they're pretty excited with, what they have, or at least the returns that have come back from these guys who know the system that were brought in, Juju, Kareem Hunt. They know it's expected here in Kansas City when you're on the field. And I mean, Juju showed up, like you said. But, you know, with some of the deals that came through too, it's almost like should the Chiefs even have like would it have been a smart move to have traded a third round pick for Amari Cooper?
Oh yeah.
I, I mean, I don't know if I'm in on that. to
I
tell you the
like
truth.
that. I like that. I
I
think that
would.
solidifies where we're at for this season. I think that is like a cornerstone. Amari Cooper can play ball. So
He
a
can
third
ball. I'm not saying he can't ball.
yeah, no, I know that. I know that. I'm saying he plugs right in. He establishes that new number one on this offense that is absent of that.
My my only gripe would have been previous trades that I've seen for Amari Cooper. It's the third time he's been traded in his career, and the most recent one with Cleveland was like a fifth round pick, and going to Dallas, it was a fourth and a sixth, I want to say. And so knowing that this is the most return a team has gotten for Amari Cooper, and arguably Amari Cooper is his lowest self in that trade. I don't know, that just kind of sat a little wrong with me. I would be maybe more inclined to send a third over for, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it, I like Darius Slayton more, but I like his age and upside a lot because of who's thrown him the ball his whole career and what he's been able to do with those opportunities compared to what he could do in Kansas City. Now, do the Chiefs want to reach back into the Giants wide receiver bucket and pull another guy out? I don't know.
Yeah,
Might be a
yeah.
little bit of a uh,
Sour taste from that one.
PTSD from
Yeah.
that, you know, a little sour taste in your mouth from that one. But,
Yeah.
you know, there's some other guys that I think could be available across the league that the Chiefs could possibly keep their eye on making moves. But with the front office, I mean, Brett Veach is going to be very selective, and he rarely trades for the big name, right? The guys
Yep.
that are known. He will trade more often for a guy that's maybe, you know, had like Kadarius Toney, let's just say, a guy who has not lived up to the expectation of where he was drafted, or it could be a guy that he really liked in a draft that was taken late that he knows he can, you know, flip a fourth or a fifth round pick for, see Charvarius Ward, and when he brought him in 2018. So I say all of that to say I'm with you on the mindset of the front office. I would be more surprised to see that there was a trade than I would be to see his trade for like an Amari Cooper type.
Yeah, and just to solidify that thought process there. When we've watched Brett Veach operate for the last however many years, what is it, 12 years at this point?
Feels like
Um,
that. Feels like a
he
couple
he
lifetimes.
he looks at he's not just looking at this season. He it always seems like he's looking at the 1 year return, the 3 year return, and the 5 year return. What is this going to do to the Chiefs organization in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years, right? So making trades like that, kind of hinders the team in between that 1 and that 3 year period. And I think that's how they make long term decisions, man. I just don't think they're willing to risk what could be in 3 years for a chance at right now. So
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I know they're chasing history. Danny Parkins was on, I think it FS1, and I don't know the show, but he was on there talking about, you know, the Chiefs aren't facing the Niners and the Bengals and the Bills. They're facing ghosts of NFL past and chasing that history. Was, you know, I guess a summary of how he put it,
man, that kind of give you goosebumps.
doesn't it? And it's like, you know, the Chiefs' goals are not the goals of everyone else in the league. It's can we go undefeated? It's can we three-peat? It's Super Bowl or bust. When a lot of other teams in the league are like, let's just get to the damn playoffs and see what happens.
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, the fact that they would risk the long-term ability to keep those goals in place would shock me too. I'm with you 100%. So, we are playing the Niners in real life. That is the case. We know that this has been a situation where the Chiefs have kind of owned probably the most dominant team in the NFC over the last 5 years. Two matchups in the regular season, the Chiefs are 2-0. Two matchups in the Super Bowl, Chiefs are 2-0. So, coming into this game, it's been kind of refreshing to see the Niners sort of show respect to the Chiefs in any media availability and things like that. Where, if you talk about an AFC team, there's always going to be some guy that says something sideways about Kansas City, especially if you're in Cincinnati. But,
Yeah.
um, the core of these two teams from even the first Super Bowl matchup are still
Yeah, right.
intact for the
Yep.
most part. You got Debo Samuel still there. Um, Bosa's still there.
Yep.
Fred Warner's still
Yep.
there. I mean, all of those guys. And then just last year, we saw what happened there. So, and all of those guys are there. So it's still going to be one of those situations where it's like pretty fresh. Charvarius Ward obviously has been on both sides of that now with Kansas
Yep.
City. So, um, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting, I think, storylines with this. You could take Kittle and Kelsey in that tight end kind of route. You could look at the Charvarius Ward thing. I mean, there's a lot of ways. Trent Williams was linked to Kansas City at one point. There's a lot of things kind of flowing through this matchup.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we talked about this a couple times last year where, games coming in the pipeline and there's not a lot of buzz going around the game where, I think where a lot of that comes this year is San Francisco's had some of those struggles, but still an obviously good team. And like you
Oh,
said,
yeah.
a lot of that core team is still there. So it's not like the San Francisco 49ers are toast at this point,
Right.
There's still a lot of good football that those guys are going to play. And quite honestly, they're going to be a top two issue in the NFC when it comes to January football. So I think on top of that, there's a lot of conversation about Brock Purdy. What's his future going to look like in San Francisco? There's a lot of talk about he's going to get that big time deal after this year, and
Yeah.
I think as looking at the San Francisco situation, Brock Purdy's got to have loads of stress on his shoulders to be able to come out and try to go get the Super Bowl completed, this year, and especially with it being that the year, before you get your big time deal. But again, he might have to go through Kansas City at the end of the road to be able to get that done, I think that's just a hiccup that is going to be a little too tough for the Niners again, but, a lot of football in between then, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah, plenty of games. And the NFC's different this year too. Like the Vikings have emerged
yep,
as maybe the best overall team in the NFC.
yep.
You have the
Detroit's
Buccaneers
looking good
showing
again.
out. What's that?
Detroit's looking good again.
Detroit's looking good again. The Falcons have played good ball
The
up to this
Cowboys still
point.
suck.
Cowboys are still trash, so
Yeah.
that's always fun. I mean,
Some
there yeah, there's some constants, right? The Cowboys
yeah.
are always gonna suck,
Some
but
things never change.
some things never change, baby. They just do not change.
Yeah.
Well, just kind of gearing up for this week, while the core of the team is still intact, a lot of those core players are dealing with some big time injuries in San Fran, and that's one of those things that's going to be a big time challenge for them to overcome in this game, right? You're playing the two-time defending champion Super Bowl champions, and it's probably a game that these guys have had circled on their calendar, I would imagine, with the way their season ended. And some of those guys might not even play. Like Christian McCaffrey, you can already pretty much rule him out for this game.
Sure.
A couple of guys they're resting because of all these injuries they've had. Leonard Floyd, Trent Williams, they both have not practiced this week in preparation. But even Christian McCaffrey's backfill, Jordan Mason, exited the game last week and is still dealing with some shoulder injuries. You got Jawan Jennings, who's emerged this year, dealing with a hip injury. I feel like there's an
Yep.
injury carousel when it comes to wide receiver for San Francisco.
Yeah.
Um, and then a few other guys who are just kind of battered and bruised. And you get that this time of the year because the Chiefs
Yeah.
have some guys like that too. Mike Dana being the biggest one who has not practiced yet. But um, I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Well, looking at the injury report right now, this is, I think, maybe the first time in history that a team has had two kickers on the injury report. San Francisco. I
If
know
that
Jake.
tells you anything about what's going on in San Fran.
Yeah, so I know Jake Moody did not play last week because he's my kicker in fantasy, and
Oh,
so they had Matt Wright come in, but it looks like he's on the injury report for a shoulder back and did not practice. Jake Moody did not practice, so um, you know Malik Collins here, a Kansas City native, maybe kicking field goals for the San Francisco 49ers this weekend.
I thought they were going to give you a call.
No, no, no. This boot is not good, brother. Not good.
So if
I
Matt McGee asked you to kick a field goal for 50K, you think you could knock a 33-yarder down?
Oh, you bet your ass. And you bet your ass that I'm gonna go get one of those cleats with the square toe. And I'm wearing that bad boy up there too.
Oh
Yeah.
my
But
gosh.
looking at the injury report here, it's got very similar vibes to what we saw before we played LA Chargers, right? That was just a team that was completely battered before we played them,
Oh yeah.
and really the week before we played them as well. And that obviously kind of leaned into some of the success that we had against the Chargers. Went down 10-0. They didn't score again in the rest of the game, right? Didn't score for 3 quarters after that.
Yep.
And so, I coming off a bye and playing a team that's, beat up like this and having the success we've had over the last 4 games, I think this, kind of leans the needle a little bit further over towards Kansas City as far as my expectations in the win column. But yeah, this is a tough time of year, and you really look at the grand scheme of things. The Chiefs aren't in much better position here with some of the injuries we've sustained long term. Obviously, our
Right.
number one and number two receivers are both out. One for the season, the other one might not be back until Christmas. I mean, that's a tough. That's really tough on an offense, right? And the only real place that we're different is the guy that slings the ball. Tough season or not, he hasn't been the same guy that we've seen for 7 or 8 years, but he's still unmatched.
Oh
He's
yeah.
still a guy that you cannot prepare for because he's gonna come out with something new, whether it's by play calling or it's by some freak pass that
Improv
we've
or
never seen.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what do the Chiefs have to do to get this thing done, man? Like knowing that the Niners are going to be potentially missing a few players or at least have them hampered, right? And knowing kind of what Kansas City has going into San Francisco, what do the Chiefs have to do?
I think there's two kind of broad ideas of what the Chiefs have seen as success as of late. Dominate the ground game on offense, and then bend don't break defense on the other side of the ball. So dominating the ground game on the offense, Kareem Hunt comes out over 100 yards on his first start after joining the team, just 2 weeks after he joined the team. I mean, that's absolutely crazy.
It's awesome.
But looking at the time of possession against the Chargers, I mean, we dominated the time of possession against the Chargers, right? They were barely on the field for the second quarter through the fourth quarter. And then makes it difficult when you have, teams like the Chargers who want to come out and throw points up on you, right? They're not a defensive team. They want to just outscore you. And so that makes it tough to do. And this is kind of another one of those teams. San Fran's more balanced. But if we can dominate the time of possession, dominate the ground game, and really break this defense down to nothing, so that last quarter of the game, it's really us dominating, the front trenches and the play calling because that defense is worn out. That's gonna give us a much higher expectation or chance of winning. And then the defense, they just continue to do what they've been doing all season. If you give up an 80-yard drive and it takes 8 minutes off the clock, but you only give up three, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
If Patrick Mahomes can turn around and turn that into seven, and that happens three times, I mean, we're in really good shape. And this defense is not a defense that gets turnovers. Well, we've had a couple throughout the year so far, but this is a defense that's going to go the length of the field with you and then stop you in the red zone or stop you short of the red zone and make you kick that field goal. So
right.
if we can continue down that path, then I feel comfortable with what we have. Obviously, this San Fran offense has not operated to the high capacity that they were operating at last year. And McCaffrey being out's probably got a significant deal
Huge
to do with
impact.
that. But yeah, outside of that, they haven't been the feared offense that they were really even the last 2 or 3 years.
No, 100%. It's this year's been patchwork for San Francisco, right? You got to get guys like Jawan Jennings and Jordan Mason stepping up into holes where Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and Christian McCaffrey have all been injured. I mean, even George Kittle has already dealt with his fair share of problems, and that doesn't even include, what might be going on the defensive side of the ball for this team. Luckily, the core players have been relatively healthy for them. Fred Warner, Bosa, Javon Hargrave, I think, has been very healthy for them so far. Uh, and so just like seeing their defense come out and continue to perform, that's going to be a big time overcome for the Chiefs as well. Because if you look at the front seven for the Niners, they're kind of like built to stop what we've put on the field the last couple of weeks, right? The constant ground and pound run game. They
Yep.
have athletic linebackers who can cover our tight end in space, our tight ends plural in
Yeah.
space. And I liked how the Chiefs got Noah Gray involved. I'd like to see them get maybe Jared Wiley involved a little bit more as well.
And Noah Gray's been really involved all year.
He's been great. It's
Yeah.
been awesome. I think he's getting a little more trust in this offense finally, and I think that needs to continue if the Chiefs are going to succeed, especially knowing how shorthanded the team is. I mean, if you're looking at the wide receivers, you have Juju who can be that every down kind of pass catcher, and then everyone else you got to kind of play in a gadget role a little bit, right?
Yep.
Xavier Worthy, Mecole Hardman, who's actually dealing with an injury himself. Um, you got to kind of play to those strengths, and that really limits the number of routes and plays that you can call for that type of player. And so, getting those tight ends involved and figuring out a way to beat that front seven, because I think that's what San Francisco has to do to beat the Chiefs is impose their will from their front seven, right? Let guys like Fred Warner and Javon Hargrave kind of change the narrative within the game,
Yep.
um, and make you do things that you have to be a little more uncomfortable doing, at least with the personnel that the Chiefs are putting on the field at this point. What plays into the favor of the Niners as well is that they have a healthy Debo Samuel, right? And he can embody a Christian McCaffrey type of role where he's taking handoffs or end arounds or sweeps out of the backfield, but also he can put up 120 yards on you on just
Yep.
three or four catches
Yep.
because of what he does after the catch so
Yep.
well. You still have George Kittle as a red zone threat. Um, our linebackers are going to have to be on their toes guarding him. I'm looking at, Nick Bolton, Chenal, and Tranquil to really be keying in on him. And honestly, we might need to get Shamari Connor involved in that quite a bit as well.
Yeah, and probably
If
see
you're
a
if
lot
you're
of
going to
Justin Reed
contain
involved
him.
in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Niners are just going to have to exploit some of those mismatches, I think, with Kittle and with Debo Samuel, because Debo is such a tough kind of big body kind of player. He's thick, right? He's
Yep.
got a lot of that muscle that he can flex on you. Devondre Campbell, there we go. That's the other linebacker I was trying to think of for the Niners. He's a tackle machine, and he's really good at pursuing the ball carrier and meeting them at the line of scrimmage and making sure they don't chunk you for too big of a carry. So, I mean, San Fran's just gonna have to play to their strengths and what they do best, and not get injured, not let these injuries impact them, and they can take the Chiefs. But you know, with the way that Andy Reid has called games against Kyle Shanahan, I think that's the biggest mismatch on paper. It's the way Andy Reid's going to be able to navigate those scenarios and those battles a little bit more than what I think Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to navigate. And so going into San Francisco and getting a win, I don't see it as a an impossible feat for Kansas City. I can just put it that way. And I
Yeah.
actually, I think the spread will tell you if this game's played anywhere else, the Chiefs are favorites.
Yeah. 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 So walking into that here, Dan, the spread's sitting at for the Chiefs, 1.5 plus 1.5. Total score here is at 46.5. I'll rock and roll with my picks here. I think this is a no brainer. Chiefs plus 1.5 from some of those points that I brought up earlier. Chiefs are 4-0 last 4 games. Coming off a bye, Andy Reid is damn near undefeated. I think he's only got like 2 losses in his career coming off a bye. So I love those odds. And I think we match up better with San Fran this year than we have in the last couple of years as far as just total players. I think there's, a lot of changes that have happened, a lot of injuries on both teams that were unexpected. But I think the Chiefs have adapted over the last couple of years better than what San Fran has, and been able to build a team that's built for the long run here. So I like the Chiefs here plus 1.5. Obviously money line there as well. And then I'm broke on this over under, man. This is a tough one for me because
Yeah.
I really think it's got potential to be one of those games where it's like, 28-27, 31-28. But, just to stay consistent with what the Chiefs have seen all season, I'm going to take the under here. I think this one stays under, probably more along the lines of a 23-17, 23-20 kind of a game is how I see this playing out. How about you, Dan?
The under is where I'm leaning, but I'm with you. This is a tough one. I think Vegas hit it right on the nose, with the points. Um, I think the Chiefs do get the win here, but I could absolutely see this being a situation where it's 24-20, you know what I mean, and the over or and the under hits for this one. So that's where I'm going. Chiefs to cover, under to hit, and just to touch on something I said earlier, Javon Hargrave is actually on the IR. So
Oh,
it opens up the middle a little bit more for Kansas
yeah.
City kind of looking at things. So those backers are definitely going to have to be on their toes. But I still like the under for this game, regardless of that. You know, knowing that the Chiefs are going to be very run heavy, I think in this game, especially
Yep.
between the tackles. Um, that's something where it's going to be one like the Chargers game you talked about earlier, right? That time of possession just kind of killing that clock. And at halftime of that game, the Chiefs had 10 points.
Yep.
And by the end of it, it was 17-10,
Yep.
20-10, something like that. So,
17-10. Yep.
um, that this feels like an under game to me.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I'm on the same boat.
Love it. Well, happy Red Friday, y'all. Make sure you're putting that red on. Get together with some family. We got a road game. I know I'll be over at my sister-in-law's house. Kelsey and Phil
Yep.
will be hosting the family over there, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool.
Catching a
See you
game
there.
with them. But what are your plans?
We're not doing anything, bro. We are sitting at home.
Hiding.
Yes. Yes. Actually, I might be hiding from everybody else, and kids will be playing outside, and I'll be down on the couch, hiding behind the couch with the TV on so nobody see me.
Just have some
But
pillows all across your body, just a little eye hole
yeah,
in
all
for you.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we'll probably watch the game outside, grill a little bit, and
Love it.
probably have the parents over and do the deal. So yeah, Strato's out of town. He's up in New York. So our usual guest for NFL Sunday won't be here.
Oh, that dog. Well, I know he packed his Brian Cook jersey, so
Yep. Yep.
Strato, if you're listening, we love you. Convert the rest of those Giants fans up there for us.
Yep. Yep.
All right, y'all. Appreciate everybody listening. Follow show at the fastest underscore 40 on IG and X. And we also have a Facebook page if you're interested in that. You can check us out on YouTube through the Odyssey Sports page, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the free Odyssey app. Enjoy the game this weekend. Stay safe and go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.
Peace.